Afrexim Bank served as the mandated lead arranger for the Transactions complex, the world's largest single-train refinery with a processing capacity of 650,000 barrels per day. According to Aliko Dangote, President and Chief Executive of Dangote Industries Limited, the financing is designed to ease initial operational expenditures and strengthen DIL's balance sheet, supporting its long-term growth ambitions. In the meantime, Nigeria's Dangote Group has appointed David Bird, a former Shell executive and former CEO of the OQ8 refinery in Oman, as chief executive of its refinery and petrochemical division. The move marks a strategic step in Dangote's push to accelerate its pan-African growth agenda. Bird, whose appointment took effect on August 1, brings over 30 years of industry experience, including a 14-year tenure at Shell, where he oversaw the $12 billion Prelude floating LNG project. His leadership arrives at a critical moment as Dangote's $20 billion refinery complex, the world's largest single-train facility, ramps up production following its commissioning in January 2025. To East Africa, where in a bid to defend its agricultural produce against climate disasters, Zimbabwe has announced plans to build 50 new small dams and weirs, as well as upgrade and maintain existing agricultural dams around the nation. The initiative is part of a larger program to irrigate 350,000 hectares by 2028 to enhance food security and resilience. Preparations are in place for unexpected wetter than usual La Nina season in 2025 to 2026 to efficiently manage water resources. By investing in water harvesting infrastructure, the government hopes to ensure that excess rainfall can be captured and stored efficiently for year-round agricultural use. Away from that, the military-led government of Mali, Niger and Burkina Faso plans to allocate a portion of the national revenues to a newly established investment bank. This is part of a broader effort to reduce its dependence on foreign donors and steer its development agendas. Serge Balima, an advisor to Burkina Faso junta leader Ibrahim Traoré, said that each country will contribute around 5% of tax revenues to capitalize the regional lender. The move marks the latest in a series of coordinated economic initiatives by the three countries, which exited the Economic Community of West African State ECOWAS earlier this year to form the Alliance of Sahel State. Namibia and Zambia have announced plans to cross-border travel using national ID cards instead of passport. The arrangement follows a similar agreement between Namibia and Botswana earlier this year. Namibia's Minister of Home Affairs, Immigration, Safety and Security, Dr. Albert Kawana, made the announcement during Zambia's 59th Independence Day celebration in Windhoek. He revealed that both governments are working closely to implement the new travel arrangement. On his part, Zambia's High Commissioner to Namibia, Stephen Katuka, also praised the deep-rooted ties between the two nations, recalling Zambia's support for Namibia's liberation struggle. Still in Southern Africa, Namibia's cabinet has approved the drafting of a space science and technology bill to establish a legislative framework for the space sector. The bill aligns space-related activities with the country's socio-economic growth programs, focusing on research, education and sustainability. Unveiled by Namibia's Minister of Information and Communication Technology, Emma Theophilus, the bill is intended to create a well-organized legislative framework that will govern and direct the nation's space industry aspirations. Once approved, it will provide the nation's expanding interest in space technology a legislative foundation. A weak currency can significantly deter economic stability and growth prospects in African countries as the world becomes more of a global village. Although exports might occasionally become more competitive due to currency depreciation, prolonged currency weakness can have very negative long-term effect, particularly for countries that rely significantly on imports, external debt, and foreign investment. Inflation is one of the most direct consequences of a weak currency, as fuel, medicine, machinery and food are among the essential things that 2023 has been a major factor in record high inflation in nations like Nigeria, which topped 32% in the middle of 2025. Having said this, here are the top 10 African countries with the weakest currency in July 2025. First on the list is Sao Tome Principe with 22,281.80 US dollars per value. Second is Sierra Leone. Third is Guinea. Fourth is Uganda with 3,588.41 US dollars per value. And fifth is Burundi. Sixth is Democratic Republic of Congo. Seventh is Tanzania with 2,610.0. And the eighth on the list is Malawi. Ninth is Nigeria with 1,531.38 US dollars per value. U.S. President Donald Trump has rolled out a new wave of tariffs ranging from 10% to 41% on import from dozens of countries, invoking emergency powers in its continued push to reduce American trade deficit. Back in April, paying reciprocal tariffs on global trade partners, the measures were delayed for 90 days to give countries a chance to renegotiate trade terms with a final deadline set for August 1. But with most talks stalling or collapsing, the tariff hikes have now taken effect under Trump's revised global trade regime. Several African countries were affected, though the impact varied. Lesotho, the small landlocked nation in southern Africa, saw its originally proposed 50% tariff, previously the highest rate among African nations, reduced to 15% in the final announcement. Meanwhile, South Africa, Africa's most industrialized economy, was hit with an unchanged 30% tariff, a move South African Trade Minister Park Stow called a serious blow to the country's export-driven industries. With that said, here are the list of African countries affected by Trump's new tariff. First on the list is Algeria with 30%. The new tariff is 30%, as of April was 30. Second is Libya. As of April, the tariff was at 31%, and the new tariff is 30%. South Africa, the old tariff was 30%, and the new is still 30%. Tunisia is 25%. The new tariff is 25%, and of April was 28. Angola was 15. The new tariff for Angola is 15%. I beg your pardon. For Botswana, the old tariff was at 37%, and the current tariff is 15%. Cameroon, the old tariff is at 11%, and the new tariff is at 15%. Chad, 15% as a new tariff. Cote d'Ivoire, 15%. DRC, 15%, and Equatorial Guinea at 15%. The government of Ghana has announced a 62.58% increase in the producer price of cocoa for the 2025 and 2026 season, setting it at $5,040 per ton. This increase aligns with a pledge to ensure cocoa farmers receive 70% of the free and board FOB value. The new price was determined amidst a favorable exchange rate and declining inflation, reflecting economic adjustment. The announcement was made by the Producer Price Review Committee, PPRC, chaired by the Minister for Finance, Dr. Cassio Atto Forson, ahead of the new cocoa season, which started yesterday, Thursday, 7 August 2025. And while the revised price represents 70% of the gross free on-board value of $7,200 per ton, aligning with President John Mahama's pledge to ensure cocoa farmers receive 70% of the FOB value. We'll go on a break, and when we're back, African economy continues. Stay tuned.